So Scott, there's a bit of a hornet's nest going on in your city these days.
I hate to call it my city. Can we just call it our city?
Our city, that's fair.
I don't want any ownership, right, of the nation's capital right now. It is where I live and where I primarily do my work, so you're right about that.
But I know mornings I wake up, I look at, sometimes I look at BBC, sometimes I look at Bloomberg.
Right.
But I always, that's the tail that wags the dog of our industry.
Right, no, it's exactly right. I said in our board meeting, it has probably been this week, probably one of the most eventful weeks. It causes probably the most disruption potentially that I've seen really in a long time. Not in history, but in a long time. And I've been in DC for about 30 years now. I mean, you look at the speaker's race, which injected a lot of uncertainty, not only politically, but from a policy standpoint on what's going to happen for the rest of the year. And then you have the events in the Middle East, which were tragic, as you know. But that diverts attention away from the day-to-day business as well, because you've got to deal with the emergency that's unfolding in the Middle East. So the administration's focus is going to be there, Congress's focus is going to be there, at a time when you're still searching for who's going to lead the House of Representatives, right?
And are we going to have a shutdown?
And are we going to have a shutdown? 45-day extension last time, which got McCarthy basically fired from his job, right? So you can't really imagine a scenario that in the next 39 days, I think 38 days now, all of a sudden they're going to sort it out. So I think, Joe, the reality is we're going to either see a shutdown or another short-term extension. That brings no degree of comfort that things are stabilized and under control. So we're going to have to deal with its uncertainty for a while now, I think, certainly into next year.
And not that we need another distraction on getting our devices through the FDA.
Right. Right.
So, I was chatting with somebody today and they had one of their 510K, pathways as item number 2 or item number 3 to do on the list.
Right, right.
And somebody said, you better get that in.
Yeah, you got to get it in now. And we even communicated that to our companies, because get it in before the shutdown.
Correct.
If there is a shutdown, because in that event, they will do work with MDUFA user fees and the funds that came from that on those products. If you don't get it in before the shutdown, there's a possibility it'll get delayed for a long time, because it'll get backed up in the queue. So that is the message, and what we hope for is frankly they get a deal and get it worked out so we don't face that problem. But wouldn't it be a shame, right, if Congress can't get its act together and delays happen with important innovative medical technologies that hits people's lives, right? That's why it really matters that they get things together and get organized again.
I'm hoping that one of the best ways to unite people is to have a common enemy and a common mission to go after.
Right.
So with the tragedy that happened in Israel and our friends there who were so important to the MedTech industry, that's just catastrophic. But now I'm hoping that we can get our house in order so then we can rally and say, okay, let's get over there, let's help that ecosystem, let's help that country, and then let's stop the BS. We're going into an election year right now. We're in one right now. As these dynamics are going to freeze venture money, may impact public markets even further.
Right.
And certainly the pathway through, if I'm an investor or a CEO waiting on clearance or approval, now I'm getting at the end of the year, and I've got clients who are sitting right in that bubble. I'm waiting for FDA December, January. That might become a protracted time frame.
No question. It's a very uncomfortable place to be for everyone. External events are often what drive bipartisanship in Washington. Saw it around 9/11. You go back previous years to the war in Iraq, before 9/11, back when George H.W. Bush, you saw people rally around a cause. All of a sudden, the trivial matters that we argue about aren't so important anymore. So you have a common enemy, a common focus, and that drives people to be a little bit more bipartisan, even if for a short period of time, right? So I think you're right. I think there's hope for that, and I think we get the speaker issue settled, and maybe that kind of settles for the rest of the year. It's a good thing for everybody. But what you don't want to have is that dysfunction come back again, right? And it's just like, can we stop with the fighting and focus on some things that really matter, right? And get into this election year, get on with it, and let's get back to governing.
Any thoughts? Are you able to handicap where the speaker's going to go?
I don't know. I mean, you would think Scalise is likely the leader in the clubhouse right now, but it's really, really hard to say. I mean, I've seen a few of these things play out over the years, Joe, One of the things that's unique about this one is not that you've had a change in control of leadership in the House. It's that the Speaker decided to try to call their bluff and he lost, right? I was on the Hill a couple times when the Speaker got in trouble, but instead of calling a vote, he just resigned. On the Senate side, we've had leaders step down in the middle of their term because they lost the support of their caucus, right? So in principle, it's not that different than what's happened in the past, but this one was so public, they had the formal vote, and it causes everybody to retreat to their corners, right? And that's what worries me, and I think that's what makes it hard to predict what the outcome will be, because everybody's stated on the record where they are now, right? And so that makes it tough. I put my money on Scalise. He's the majority leader. People like him a lot. He's a seasoned person, likable, very good at just governing the House, and so I think that would be a good outcome, but who knows?
What do our owners / leaders have to watch over the next 90 days?
Yeah, I think there's two things in our space that I hope the dysfunction goes away so we can solve. One of them is this issue about reimbursement, which you and I have talked about. The administration put out a regulation, the TSIT regulation. Congress looked at it, and the response was it's a nice effort, but not enough. We've got two markups, both in the House Energy and Commerce Committee and in the Ways and Means Committee as well, on an improved version of that regulation that would become law. And there's a chance they could get that past the House, and that would be a great thing for this industry, right? So, but if they're focused on other things, it doesn't make it as likely. That's one. Two is in the diagnostic space, the regulation of LDTs and trying to create a level playing field between what LDTs see and what the IVD companies see right now. Again, FDA did a rule because Congress didn't act, but Congress is now saying they're going to have hearings and they may act as well, right? So, and that would be a good thing. The best thing is to have regulatory certainty, regardless of what industry you're in, and that's what we're pushing for. The third thing, Joe, I would tell you, we've been traditionally in the healthcare space primarily. We deal with CMS, we deal with FDA, we deal with private payers, we deal with tax issues, of course, as well, which all businesses deal with. But we've been dealing with an issue of ethylene oxide and sterilization, which is a big challenge for us. And that is primarily an issue with EPA. And we have found that they're moving in the right direction. That is an issue that, if done incorrectly, is going to cause shortages that will be massive. And that message is starting to resonate, I think, with the policymakers. Another one to watch out for and that they have to get right.
Yeah, and I worry about that, Scott, that you bring that up. I'm glad you did, is there are times that there are bad actors on the political front that want to make a sacrificial lamb.
Yep.
At the expense of our industry.
Right.
And I think that if we can manage that sort of from a easy trajectory on the way out versus having another somebody come back with a head on a stake at the expense of our industry.
No, that's exactly right. I think a lot of times it's because people don't understand how the industry actually works, right? And then you go in and explain to them, there's not another way to sterilize these products. And if you don't sterilize them, the outcomes are going to be really bad. Infections, failures are going to go up dramatically. And then when you start to explain it, they go, okay, wait, I got it now. So let's slow down. Let's not be reactionary, and let's try to get this policy right. And that's where we are. We're making progress.
Good. That's my only fear on that one, is somebody trying to get a win without understanding the consequences, which are profound.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, my friend, always like to talk about the policy influencing our industry.
Yeah, good. And we didn't even cover politics. We'll have to do that on a separate show sometime.
I need a beer on that one.
That's the fun and entertaining part, right? So, all right.
Thanks,
good
man.
deal. Yeah.